Hi folks, today I want to talk about the Sony A9III ergonomics. With all the buzz around the global shutter, we didn't talk about one of the minor improvements that actually I think it's very important, at least for me as a photographer. I would love to see those improvements on a future A7 IV or A7R6 and so forth. And this is about the new ergonomics of the A9III. And the reader sent me out a comparison of the silhouettes between the first generation A9, the A9II and the A9III. You can see the images here. It's very clear that on every generation Sony is increasing slightly the size of the camera, particularly of the grip. As you can see here, the A9III grip is quite a big jump forward compared to the A9II. And if you compare the original A1 and the A9III, the difference is really big. As you can see, the camera is both wider and thicker, but what the one biggest change is really the grip. The A9III in general is the biggest alpha camera compared to all other models. Here you see a comparison with the A7 IV and the A7 III, and here you can again see how the grip has become bigger and more rounded, and this will make it much more comfortable to use. Also, what you don't see on that comparison is that the shutter button seems to be placed in a much more comfortable position, and also the customizable button on the top, they are standing out more pronounced, probably are easier to press and use on the A9III. According to Deep Review, the A9III in general is the best handling alpha camera. They write that the ergonomics has long been an area of criticism of Sony, with the company generally making improvements generation on generation. The A9III contains this pattern with a significantly reworked hand grip. There's more pronounced bump at the top of the camera and a grip that encourages a slightly curved in-hand hold, pushing your finger back towards the shutter button. The two custom buttons behind the shutter release are now raised, making them easier to reach. We used the camera with the 300mm GM and other sizable lenses for several hours and found it to be the most comfortable Sony camera yet. What really frustrates me is that we have to wait every 3-4 years for a new generation of camera that gets a tiny bit bigger. Sony always hears the complaint from our photographers and cinematographers that the cameras are too small, and instead of just listen to them and make them as big as they should be, they just slowly increase them millimeters by millimeters. So I think that's a missed opportunity from Sony. They should have changed the design of the A7 7 years ago, when all the complaints were coming in, and just make them bigger, that's it, and stop the discussion. But no, instead they keep increasing them slowly, and I think every time it's a missed opportunity. In general, my view on the camera is that I understand that there is also some advantage to have them small, and I think just Sony is a bit confusing when it comes to the design language of the cameras. Also, the A7CR or the A7C2 camera, they just look like E7 camera without the EVF. So I don't see a difference in design language, and in general the A7 cameras, they look like a box with the grip that has been attached the very last minute. And I think Sony should reconsider everything when it comes to the design language of the camera, and just offer, for example, two options of very small compact alpha lineup and the real big alpha lineup for those that really need the big handling, that use, for example, a camera with gloves. They need the big buttons, they need a top LCD screen. You can see that Sony is really engineer focused company and less focused on design, like for example Leica or Fuji and other companies that in my opinion have a better design language. So while I'm happy on the A9III having better ergonomics, and I'm sure that this ergonomics will come on future A1II or the A7S4 and other cameras, and I will certainly be happy that it's improved, I still think Sony should take time to reconsider the design and usability language on their cameras, and just not be so stubborn on only offering small cameras and then anyway increasing them, but just decide to have two design language, one for a smaller camera and one for a bigger camera, that's it. Anyway, that was a bit of my rant on the A9III ergonomics. I think it's an improvement, but I think it's also a missed opportunity, and I hope Sony engineers are listening to me, and also to all the feedback that they're getting from other YouTubers that are more important than me, of course, and also from customers, that we need the possibility to have a proper big camera also. Let's hope they will listen. That's it for today. See you soon.